Chapter 7, 17605. Can you love a thing? I would have said no until I got my Bach Stradivarius trumpet. That trumpet became my love interest for more than 50 years and sits on a stand beside me today. It has been my only steady companion through all the challenging years. In 1962, I was a small, confused boy entering high school, smaller than most of my fellow school students because my parents had pushed me into starting school a year early. Precocious is what they called me back then, as I remember. I was always an intensely serious student, and they didn't want to get me discouraged by being in a class that was too slow. I was just trying hard to be a good boy. More than just a good student, I was becoming quite the serious musician, practicing an hour every day. Music was my passion, and trumpet was my outlet. Because my grades were good, my parents would treat me a little special and indulge me from time to time. As a Christmas present, they had bought me a shiny, brand-new Kahn trumpet for my musical studies in 1960. Of course, they expected me to be excited about it. Instead, I whined and complained regularly for the next 2 years. "This is a student horn," I insisted with a touch of resentment in my voice. At 12 years old, I had fumed. "I want a professional trumpet." They listened. How could they not? I was relentless. 2 years later, they presented me with my Bach Stradivarius trumpet for Christmas, serial number 17605. That serial number became etched into my brain. It may sound crazy, but the number 17605 has always had a magical, mystical pull over me. Just thinking the number evokes a flood of memories. My trumpet teacher, Uncle George, would tell me stories about this horn. He told me that it was known in the industry as the Mount Vernon Bach, made in Mount Vernon, New York. This was before the Bach Company moved their headquarters to Elkhart, Indiana, and began a new, cheaper method of assembly. Uncle George told me that the bell of the horn was special. It was the last of the one-piece brass bells. I had no idea what that meant at the time, but it sounded very impressive and made the horn seem very special and somehow mythical. Years later, when I would take the horn in for repairs, the repairman would say with some reverence, "Oh, this is a Mount Vernon Bach." I assumed they were wistful about what a fine instrument it was. I realize now they were probably just impressed that I was still playing such an old horn. It was far from a new horn when I got it. My parents couldn't afford a new Bach Strad. But my trumpet teacher, George Horan, was friends with a professional trumpet player who had moved on to an even better horn. My parents bought his hand-me-down. It was clean and shiny, but clearly was not new. I didn't care. It was a professional horn, and I was going to be a professional musician. Period. 17605 has been my companion for all of the major musical experiences in my life, except for the barbershop quartets, of course. 6-week European tour with my college brass quintet. There were years of Dixieland music with the Sunset Traffic Jam. We performed dozens of concerts in the park playing big band jazz music with Portland Big Band. Hundreds of parties, dances, and concerts playing jazz pop with my own little band, Portland Jazz Connection. And there were many cherished hours in the practice room. And of course there was the 1st U.S. Army Band. Now I am an old man, gradually crumbling in the December of my years. 17605 is falling apart too. She has been replated 3 times, had her valves replaced. The lead pipe had to be replaced when it developed leaks after having been professionally cleaned 1 too many times. I have had the finger loop moved to the bell for my left hand to grab the horn, as MS has forced me to learn to play trumpet left-handed. She is no longer the shiny silver companion that I once carried with me into battle, the one I was so proud to call my own. 17605 is now a wounded warrior, as am I. She sits stately on her stand beside me. What a pair!